Wheeler 102, thank you. Burke 14, Burke 16. Room next to me is still empty, so I know there's some folks on their way, so thank you for being patient. To those rooms that are back and ready and logged in, welcome back. Look forward to working with you all on Teams in a little bit. Please feel free to use this time to explore OneNote, the OneNote class notebook that I prepared for you, all the items in the content library that we see over here. You could go to one of your private spaces and work on using your stylus. If you're interested in looking at On Campus, feel free to go to the browser and navigate to On Campus. Check out some of your course-related information. Mrs. Sullivan will be working with you tomorrow and On Campus and helping you kind of get more familiar with that, so you can click around On Campus. You could also start and open up Teams, go into Teams and take a peek around at some of the teams that you might have been invited to, and start to kind of get familiar with it there, looking at some of the items on the sidebar. So a couple of things to do while we're waiting for everybody to get back and join us. Thanks for your patience. Looking forward to working with you this afternoon on Teams, okay? We'll get started in a few moments. Burke 108 is logged in, thank you. Burke 08 is set, awesome. Mr. O'Kane, if you're there, would you mind me showing later, just in a little bit, showing one of your theology classes from last year, just the kind of anatomy of teams. I had that as one that was open, just going to show them. Would you mind if I demonstrate that? Just show your one of your theology classes from last semester. Let me know. Not going to click around a lot, just going to show them the basic structure of the team. All right, Spurco 4, my guys in there. All right. Guys, feel free to go ahead and log back in when you have a chance to your circus, okay? Awesome. Thank you, Mr. O'Kane. All right, Burko 4 is catching up. Wheeler 202, have I heard from Wheeler 202? Oh, ready to go. Thank you, Mr. Prody. Awesome. Wheeler 106. Wheeler 106. Got a lot of tests. All right, thank you, Mr. Schott. Awesome. All right, Mrs. Bresci. All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm looking forward to continuing with you. We're going to focus on teams this afternoon. We're going to finish off the day strong here. Mr. Cohen was in. He's the Teams Jedi. Gave me a couple ideas to kind of help kind of orient you with teams. So we're going to try out some things. We're going to try out some small groups in just a little bit. But let me jump right into it. We're going to talk about teams this afternoon. I'm going to navigate over to Teams. And I just want to talk about kind of the layout and kind of the user interface. Mr. Cohen likes to use that term. I use the word like anatomy. User interface sounds cooler, so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the user interface here of Teams. So Microsoft Teams is the hub that we use for class meetings. We use for kind of remote learning. Last year when the pandemic hit, we had people that were using Teams. We use it for a lot of committee work and whatnot here at school. Teachers were using it with some of their classes. When the pandemic came, it was like the whole school took a field trip to Spain to learn Spanish. We were kind of just dropped right in the middle of another country, and we were using a new tool in ways that we hadn't used it before. So we've learned a lot from that experience. I'm sure all of you in the schools that you're coming from, whether you're coming from our middle school or you're coming from another school, public school, private school, wherever it may be, I'm sure you had some experiences using those tools. So it's kind of a learning experience for us all. I think we're all excited to get the fall started so that we can kind of continue that learning process, and hopefully things improve and we'll be able to get back into school and continue to use the tool, but be face to face. But in the meantime, we want to make sure you guys are comfortable using this tool. We use it for our meetings, our video conferencing. So let's talk more about the tool itself and kind of the lay of the land here. When you get into Teams, when you first log in, you see these tiles, and you're going to see a lot of tiles on my screen because I help with a lot of the teams. But as your teachers start and activate your classes, you'll see more and more teams. It'll look like this: computer science. It'll be the name of the class, 2021. We'll let you know what year it is. Here's an example of Mr. O'Kane's theology class from last year, the section number 4, and then you can see it was from last year because it was last year's year, the last year's years. The other tiles here, you can rearrange these once you start getting inviting to them, so you can drag and drop them and rearrange them. It's kind of up to you to kind of how you want it to have it set up. We're going to be using this PM freshman one-to-one training team a little bit, but let's talk about this sidebar first of all. At the top of the sidebar is this back and forward button. This is kind of like the back and forward button on a browser that you're used to using. It helps you go back to the place that you just were. If you kind of click something, you're not sure where it took you, you can click on that and it remembers the last few places that you've been, and you can easily backtrack through all of those clicks using that back and forward button. So that's a useful tool there. When you kind of get into something and you're like not sure where you are, you can use that back and forward arrow. The activity feed, that kind of tracks all the different things. If you're into social media tools, I know none of you probably are using Facebook anymore, all your parents and grandparents are, but there's an activity feed in there, and every time somebody mentions you, or there's a birthday to let you know about, or this or that, you get pinged with an activity feed. The same thing happens in Teams. If you get mentioned in a comment, if your teacher puts a new assignment in there for you, if there's a class meeting that might have started on a class, or there's many reasons that you can get activity feed. But the nice thing about this is you can kind of filter this. There's a filter here you can click on, and you can kind of filter some of these settings. You can kind of mention or change some of the settings related to this, and make some adjustments there to the settings as well. So you can kind of change that, but this is like reverse chronological order. So the most recent thing is always at the top, and the further back you go, the older the activity feed was. The way this is, though, is if you click on any of these, it'll take you right to that team. So it could be, you're in one class, something happens, and you might want to go to another class to be able to see what's going on. Maybe you're doing the work for that. So that activity feed kind of just keeps you abreast of what's going on in there. The chat feature is not turned on right now for students. That's a feature that we might turn on in the future, but that's a tool that allows you to communicate one-to-one or one-to-many with your teachers, with other students. So we'll give you more information on that if that's turned on. The Teams tab is one that you'll use quite a bit. That's where you come to see all the different tiles and actually to get into a class. And we're going to demo that in a little bit. I want to talk about assignments a second. We're going to be talking about On Campus tomorrow. Some of you might have clicked around a little bit, but On Campus is the tool that we use for grades, for course-related information, for homework, for assignments. That's where it's going to be like you'll be let known what you need to do, and then whether we're face-to-face or remote, sometimes you need to use a book, sometimes you use a website, sometimes you need to go and use a piece of software to complete the assignment. So you might have something in On Campus that tells you what you need to do for that night, and then you need to go to OneNote to complete it. Or you might need to go into Teams to do it. Or you might need to go into On Campus and be part of a discussion board conversation. You might have to get a textbook and do something in the textbook. So we always use a bunch of different tools to complete an assignment. Just know that the assignment itself will be communicated in On Campus. Teams has some assignment features. And if some of your teachers, I don't think a lot will necessarily use this, but some may. they may make assignments that are in Teams, and you'll get alerts and notifications in there to be able to complete them. But that information will be communicated to you and on campus. You'll come to Teams to be actually able to do the assignment sometimes. So just wanted to clarify that. It can be a little confusing. The calendar feed. If the teacher is using assignments, that information will show up in your calendar, as well as any meetings that might have been scheduled or that you might have scheduled. This ties into your Outlook calendar as well. So that's under calendar. And then there's a calls button here that allows you to kind of set up certain people that you're calling with or communicating with more often than others, kids in your class, teachers that you might have. And this kind of incorporates a lot of the Skype technology where you can video call or just audio call somebody using Teams. And that can turn into, like, you know, it can be a one-on-one, and then you can invite someone in to have more of a group conversation. So that there's a lot of cool features with the calling feature. And then the files button. This has to do with a lot of the different files that you or your teachers might be uploading into Teams. You might be in in a club or something that might be using a team, or a sports team. This could be like a practice plan, or it could be a workout routine, or it could be a group project that you're working on. The files can be all kind of housed in Teams, and you obviously can go to the team itself, the class team, but this gives you kind of like a running list of the different files and things that you're working on. So again, it's in reverse chronological order. The newest ones are at the top, and then it goes back in time. So some useful things there. The other thing I want to show you, this is pretty powerful. When we talk about, the benefits of using digital tools, why is OneNote more advantageous than using a paper notebook? Why is using Teams, a digital tool, more advantageous than, whatever? The search features in these tools are one of those things. So if I type in a topic, like let me say Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a technology that you might be asked to use. It's a tool that allows you to record videos and kind of have fun with, help to explain an answer or to get to know each other. If I type in Flipgrid in the search and I hit enter, it's going to bring up and search for all the places that Flipgrid was mentioned. It could be in conversations, it could be in chat histories, it could be in meetings, it could be maybe a document that a teacher posted. So that's a pretty powerful tool there as far as searching for a topic. And here we can search in messages, we can search in people, we can search in files. So here are all the files that mention the word Flipgrid in. So this is a pretty powerful tool. The search feature that's at the top of Teams, that's one of the ones that's kind of a little unknown about that you want to take advantage of. The next thing I want to show you is your picture. And if you're new to Loyola, your picture might not be in there. It might just be your abbreviation right now, like your initials. But Teams has pushed out some new updates. And to be able to turn on those updates or those new features, you have to come up to this icon. And you can kind of follow along with me if you want to click on your own computer. We want to go down to Settings. And then one of the new features you want to turn on is this one here. Turn on New Meeting Experience. New meetings and calls will open up in a separate window. It requires restarting Teams. So if you want to turn this on, your teachers updated last week. This update just came out in the last 2 weeks. So if you are interested in doing this, this will allow you to do the large gallery of 7 by 7, 49 people. Any of you that like to watch the NBA on in the bubble in Orlando, if you've watched games, you see people on the video board are sitting in like leather seats remotely. That's called Together Mode. And there's a feature built into Teams now that you can use Together Mode. Unfortunately, here at Loyola, you're not sitting in leather seats, but it looks like you're sitting in an auditorium. And each of you in the video will show up like in a seat, and that's called Together Mode. So there's some other new features, as well as putting your kind of menu bar in Teams up in the top right corner, which is very nice to have that up there. To turn that on, you need to click on that checkbox and then close the menu. And then you don't have to do this right now, but if you want to, students, you can. You need to right click on the Teams icon and you need to quit Teams. If I just click the X in the top right corner, that closes Teams, but the software is actually running in the background still. So you actually need to quit it. Say that 10 times quick. Quit it and then reopen Teams. And then from that point on, you'll be using the updated version of Teams and you'll have access to those new features. And if you need help with that, we can stick around at the very end of the training. I can kind of walk you through that one more time, but it was a matter of going to your picture icon, to settings, putting a check next to turn on new experience, closing that down, and then right clicking to quit Teams, and then restarting Teams. So if you wanted to do that, I'll kind of model what that looks like in a little bit. All right. All right, let me switch over. I want to show you briefly Mr. O'Kane's theology class. I'm going to talk about the UI, or the user interface, inside of a Teams class. So when I click on this class, you can see I'm taken into the general channel. It's important to know that when you are in Teams, in a class team, when you first click on the team, you come to the general channel. And there are other things. There's a thing called channels here. Your teachers can use that differently. It can be per topic. You might have a channel. A teacher might have a channel for each unit that you're studying. Teachers might have a channel that you can have informal, like non-academic discussions. They might create a channel and say, okay, guys, if you want to have, not during class, but in your free time, that might be a way for the teacher and the students to connect with each other. There's some creative ways to use it. There's also groups. We can make some public groups. So if we need to break off into small meetings, small group meetings, we're going to try this in a little bit. We can break off into one of those groups and do that. There's also something called private channels your teachers might use. And private channels are the teacher creates, and then they invite a certain group of students into that, and only those students can see that channel. So that could be for like a group presentation that you're working on, and the teacher could help support your efforts, and then other students wouldn't know what you're doing because only the people in that group could see it. So a lot of different ways we can use channels, but the channels show up on the left side of the screen. If we click on a different channel, I just want to show you that it has its own posts, files, and notes section. It has its own conversation down here, and there's a meet button where we could set up and start a new meeting. We're going to have some teacher and some student help doing this in a little bit. But that's something that you can do in a meeting in a separate channel. The general channel itself, let's take a look at the anatomy here. There's across the top, we call this the we space. It's like we collaboratively in the class. So we start off with posts. You can see there's a timeline of things and activity from this class that Mr. O'Kane has from the spring. It could be class meetings that took place. It could be documents that he shared with them. Flipgrids that he invited them to. It could have been questions or reminders or things that he posted into the class. All the activity in the team shows up in the post, and also teachers can click down here and add information. They can attach documents. Your team could collaborate on a document. If I posted something in here, everyone could access and open and read, whether it was a reading or a document or a shared Word or PowerPoint, something like that. So that's possible. Working our way across the top, we also have files. Files can be uploaded to Teams. A team, when it's created, there's a folder called Class Materials. That's a read-only file that teachers can put content into. Students can view it, but they can't edit it, they can't delete it, they can't add content. It's something that the teacher puts in there for you. It's very similar to the content library in the OneNote pages, where the teacher can put stuff. You can see it, you can take things out, you can download it, but you can't manipulate it. So class materials, these other folders and these other files are all editable and accessible by students. They can click on them, you can add files or folders, you can delete, you can move around. So that's all in the files section. Some of you might have class notebooks attached to a team, and then you see assignments here, assignments and grades. Remember, assignments and grades, they're always communicated on campus. There's some overlap with some of these features in Teams, so just know that these are extra things that your teachers will communicate in on campus, and you might have assignments or grades, but the real information is always in on campus. And then Mr. O'Kane has added a couple tabs across here, and there's other things like whether it's a website. Some teachers will post their e-textbook link up here, things like that. Mr. O'Kane has put in a class Flipgrid, so it's a link to make it very easy for the students to get to Flipgrid or Kahoot or whatever it might be that day that you're, what tool are you using in the classroom. The teacher can add tabs across the top. So that's kind of the general layout of a particular channel. one of the most important things with this layout is getting into a meeting or a class. So I'm going to go to the PM freshman training, and let's say it's September 8th, and it's first period, and you guys are ready to get into your first remote class for the day. And that remote class might be, you know, Spanish, or it might be history, or whatever it is. You're going to navigate to that team, open up Teams, navigate to the team, and your teacher, when they're ready, they'll open the door and turn the light on of the classroom, and they'll start the meeting, and you'll see that it's started. So you can see there's a meeting started here. You can see there's people already in the meeting. Don't do it right now, just because if all of us in the same room click and open up a meeting, it's going to be like kind of electronic smelling salt, if you will. It's going to be this awful shrieking noise, so kind of sound reverb. So students, please do not join this meeting, but just know in theory you would come and click join, and it would take you into the class meeting. That's the process for beginning like a class in the remote session. And then once you get into the class, you would see something like this. And right now we don't have video turned on. So right now I don't have access to the large gallery, but since we did that update, if you did the update, when you click on the ... menu, you'll see a gallery, and this is by default 3x3, so you see 9 pictures. If there's Mr. Bromwell. If 10 or more people would turn on their video, and we don't have that many people, but I could switch to large gallery, and that would give me up to 49 people. Or if it was 20 people, I'd see all 20 folks that had their video on there. And then in Together mode, that's the feature that makes it look like the NBA games in Orlando. There's some of us, we're sitting in the auditorium, and right now it's just a few of us, and these aren't the leather seats. There we go. Let me give a high five to Mr. Bromwell. Yep. Oh, there I got Mr. O'Kane. I'm trying to work on that. So we got to work on our. I'm not smooth on a good day, let alone virtually in a Together mode. There you go. Thank you, Mr. O'Kane. Yep, little dap. Love it. Lee, there's a shine coming. All right. Are you okay? All right, so that's just a little sampling of the Together mode. Let me get out of that and go to gallery mode. But this is a sampling of kind of what it would look like when you get into a class meeting. I'm going to talk briefly. I want to share my screen and show you just kind of some odds and ends about the, where was I going to go? Right in there. Let me talk about these controls real quick, and then we'll do some maneuvering. All right, so let's talk about the Teams meeting bar. At the top there, when you're in one of these class meetings, obviously there's a leave button. We all know what that is. There's a mute and unmute button. You can turn on and off the video camera just by clicking this. There's a share screen button. When it comes time, if you are giving presentations in class, you might be asked to share your screen. Your teacher will give you permission, and you can share your screen. Sometimes if you call up the help desk and you need to work with someone to get some help, they might ask you to share your screen so you can show them what the error message is on a certain technical problem. The ... menu, that's what I was referencing. That's where you can go to switch to the large gallery mode or Together mode. You could do some other things like turn on live captions. It's very hard to hear what people are saying with our masks on, so you can turn on live captions in a ... menu, and then basically you'll get a transcript at the bottom of your screen that'll kind of show what everybody's saying in the meeting. So that might be helpful for folks, especially given when people are talking in front of you with a mask on. It's very hard to read lips. Obviously you can't read lips, but it's very hard to, it's a different way of hearing. There's a raise or lower hand. This feature will be used to ask questions. Your teachers will ask you from time to time to, to show that you're ready for the next step, raise your hand, or, just different ways to use this. Your teachers will talk to you about it. We've been using this all day, this conversation or chat. This is how you turn it on, by clicking this button, so you can witness that chat and participate. Notice we haven't been doing a bunch of emojis and Giphies over here. It's been an engaging use of the tool, showing that we're ready, asking questions. Your teachers will ask you to show that you're being involved in the lesson by using that chat feature. They'll share with you their expectations, but just be ready to use that in an academic way, especially during class meetings. And then the participant button allows you to see who's in the meeting. All right. All right, we're going to try a little experiment here. I want to demo something called small group meetings. Your teachers will likely do this because this is a, kind of an academic thing that we do quite a bit in class, where we break off into a small group and, think, pair, share. Let's watch this video. Let's talk about the reading last night. Let's analyze this poem. And I want you to get into small groups and talk about it. To do that, your teachers might utilize channels. And I've set up a couple channels in our PM freshman one-to-one training. Teachers or volunteers or tech savvy student helpers in the room, we're going to ask your help here in just a second. What we're going to do, we're going to have 3 people in each breakout room. We're going to leave this general meeting and we're going to go into small groups. Burke 04, Wheeler 202, and Burke 108, we're going to have you be part of group 1. Burke 08, Wheeler 106, Burke 14, you're going to be part of group 2. Group 3 is going to be Wheeler 102, Burke 16, and Burke 06. What I'd like the helper, volunteer, homeroom teacher, whoever is manning the computer right now, whoever is manning the ship, the first person listed, I'm going to have you, and when I say go, you're going to navigate to the group. You're going to go into the group, and that person is going to start the meeting. If you are a member of that group, Wheeler 202 and Burke 108, that teacher, that helper that's sitting at the computer is going to navigate into the room, see the meeting has started, and then they're going to go ahead and join that group meeting. All right. We're going to spend about 3 to 4 minutes in that group. I'm going to browse and make my way through the groups and just kind of interject with see how things are going. We're going to talk about this. What is your favorite dessert? We need to come up with a consensus. If you want to come up with top 3, I'll give you that. It's going to be 3 homerooms talking together, moderated by the teacher. So you're going to turn on your microphone. Again, the students are just going to be talking and not actively on their computer. We're just kind of demoing this. Moderated discussion. What is your favorite dessert? So each group 1, group 2, group 3, needs to come up with kind of their top dessert. And if you need to have like a B and a C, that's fine also. And we'll report back in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to have you guys break off right now. You don't need to leave the meeting. What the teachers will do is they're going to navigate over to the group. They're either going to start the meeting if they're the first person listed, or if they're the second or third person listed, they're going to just join the meeting. And you'll see in this meeting that we're currently in, we're all going to be put on hold. And then I'm going to navigate over and I'm going to just check in with all of you. And then we're going to come back here at 3:45. At 3:45, we're going to come back to the main meeting and we're just going to debrief about desserts. All right. All right. So good luck. If any of the group leaders have any questions, I'll stick around here in the main channel and help you kind of get to where you need to go. I see group 1 is rolling. Group 1 has a meeting started. If anybody, group 2 already has their meeting started. Awesome. If anybody has any questions, you can let me know and I'll help you get where you're going. Any questions for me?
All right, join me.
Welcome back, everybody. I see folks are joining us back. All right, I'm gonna take a peek at those little breakout groups, make sure that we're good. I think in group 3, there might be some students that are still connected. So if any students are connected to one of the breakout groups, we want to make sure that you leave the meeting. Right now, there should not be any students in the meeting. You're just kind of watching and taking part. So we're going to have everybody get back to the general channel. All right, Mr. Prodi, love the picture there. So just going to talk through that experience a little bit. That's something that your teachers will ask you to do from time to time. And I know, I'm sorry it wasn't as hands-on for the students, but you kind of got to see a demonstration of it and how it can work. Those are kind of things that you'll be doing, whether it's a public channel or private channel. At times, there'll be different students that are asked to take the lead and start the meeting. The other ones will join. So some great leadership opportunities for folks. Kind of modeling what you'll need to do. Looks like in this group 1, Will Erdman was showing off some of the features of some of these polling. It was like a forms that was put into the chat, and it's just a little quick survey, and then you can see the results are there. So these are some things that your teachers might do also in class, in the chat of conversation thread of the class, just to get an update, a little check for understanding of a certain topic, or a little vote on something, or just maybe informal, just checking about, the favorite dessert, or, whatever it might be. So just want to kind of show you that those things are possible as a, using a class team, and just so you can kind of experience some of the things that you'll be seeing moving forward. All right. At this point, teachers, feel free to turn on your microphone if there's any questions, or you can put them in the chat. We talked a lot about teams. I wish it could be a little bit more hands-on for the students, but any questions out there, or any reminders or little tips or tidbits from the teachers that you would like the students to hear as a group? Anything related to teams?
Hey, Mike, I have a question. Can the kids join a class before the teacher?
So the teacher is the one that has to start the class meeting.
Right.
The groups, the channels, if you make breakout channels, the students can start those meetings with the teacher's permission. But it's the teacher is going to be the one that starts the class meetings, and then the students will go and click into those.
So a student can't start the class and then I have to go in and have them get out, and then I start it to kind of, get control of it.
Yeah, to my knowledge, the teacher is the one that has to start it, but I'll get that clarification for you. That will be the process. Yeah, you'll go to the class meeting, go to the general channel, and then you can start your class there. There could be a possibility where some teachers create a separate channel where they have their, their classes in. But let me find out as far as starting the meetings, as far as technically if a student could do that.
Okay.
Find that out for you. Other questions about Teams? Any other tips or reminders from teachers or questions from students in the audience? All right. I know it's the end of a long day. You guys have been a great group, so just kind of winding down with things. I just want to go back to what we said we were going to talk about today, and just talk about our agenda, and just kind of bring some closure, and then kind of set the tone for what we hope you will be doing tomorrow. So what we said is today we wanted to talk about our Surface. We wanted to get you logged into some things for the very first time, right? We talked about Teams. We did the Surface 101. We talked about the different buttons, the different ports, the different settings, the touchpad, the stylus. We talked about the importance of taking care of your Surface, that the insurance, the coverage is on the device itself, not the stylus, the power cable, or the type pad. So we need to make sure that you're taking care of those items. This afternoon we talked about Teams, and we talked about the possibilities with that and how you'll be using that for remote learning. We're going to talk more about OneNote tomorrow, but we referenced it today as in terms of it's a tool that you can use to teachers can use to kind of distribute coursework, and you can complete it and without having to turn it back in. The teachers can review it. It's also a place where teachers can put content that you can use to kind of review, and whether it's class notes or what have you. So there's a lot of possibilities with OneNote. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. We're going to do some sample classes, and we're going to pretend like you're in a class, and we're going to distribute some work to you using OneNote. The other topics we have for you tomorrow, we're going to talk about On Campus. On Campus is our learning management tool. You're going to get a chance to get more familiar with that. Hopefully during some of your downtime today, you were able to click in there and browse around. You just use the same username and password you use to get into the other tools. Make sure you put the @loyalablakefield.org extension on it, but we'll talk about that. Tomorrow we'll start off with saving files in OneDrive, accessing them in Windows Explorer, also accessing them in the portal, and talking about the power of the cloud and what that means. We'll use OneDrive to do that. Mrs. Sullivan's going to be talking to you about On Campus, but she'll also be talking to you about Outlook as well tomorrow. And like I said, we're going to talk about OneNote and kind of distribute content to you and act like we're in a class, and just kind of model that process for you. All right, lastly, just want to talk about what the expectations are with this Surface before you go home. So tonight, take the Surface home, take the charger home and the stylus. You need to make sure you charge your Surface. We need to get in routine. You all have your phone charged every day. It's attached to some of you, I think, permanently, and you're used to charging that. So you want to get in the habit of charging your Surface and having that full powered. So when you bring it back tomorrow, you guys will come back tomorrow afternoon, come back to school with your Surface and have it fully charged. Bring your stylus, bring your charger with you. Continue our training with that. So you might want to have a nice, like a safe bag to put it in, a backpack or something to keep it safe. So just take care of that. If you want to connect tonight to the network, your Wi-Fi at home, just click on the button down the bottom right corner, type in your password for your Wi-Fi at home. You'll be able to connect on the Wi-Fi on your home computer. The last thing I want to show you is if you have any trouble tonight, if you open up OneNote and you go to the welcome section of your OneNote notebook, there's an upper school technology handout here. That handout, I need to update this, has the contact information here for our help desk. Looks like I put an old one in here, but the important thing is that the help desk email and phone number is there. You can email us tonight if there's any problems, something's not working. Don't wait. If it's not working, email us and let us know, and then bring it back tomorrow, and we'll go from there. But you were awesome today. I hope you feel a little bit more comfortable with some of the tools you'll be using, and I look forward to finishing up the training tomorrow with you all. We just have a few minutes left. I'm going to turn it back over to
Hold on, pay attention.
homeroom teachers. And then before we do that, is there a question there? Question from the audience?
No question.
Okay, I think he was just getting the kids from packing up and leaving. So if there's any questions for me, I'll stick around here for any particular homeroom that wants to ask questions. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it back over to the homeroom teachers. You can prepare the young men to go, and I look forward to working with them tomorrow. Thank you all very much, teachers, homeroom teachers, student volunteers, for your help. Students, we'll see you tomorrow.